Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Expert, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday talking about what's been going on. Today we have a slightly different setup, so I hope you all like it. It's taking a little bit of adjustment. I'm not sure, we might have some mess ups along the way today, but we'll see how it goes. Let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. Anyway, so we're taking a look at the Crypto Saving Expert website. We can see here Bitcoin is sat above $28,000 at $28,250, and Ethereum is sat at $1,783. Both of them have seen a nice move to the upside within the last 24 hours. We have seen that CME gap as well. We will be covering all of this in some Bitcoin analysis at the end of today's stream, but first of all, we are going to take a look at the cryptocurrency news. So let's get into it. First of all, first step of the new screens, we can highlight the first news article we have here today. Let's take a look at what's happening over in the news. First of all, we have: is Bitcoin going to $1 million within the last 90 days? Because the former CTO of Coinbase seems to think so. If we take a look at this article, we can see that he believes that hyperinflation is happening now, and he is an angel investor, tech founder, and a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He formerly served as the CTO of crypto exchange Coinbase and was a general partner at venture capital firm AH. Now, he has commented on the matter and said that he thinks that Bitcoin could hit $1 million within the next 90 days because of hyperinflation, which is happening now. And he is putting a bet on this. So he is betting some USDC. We can see here, I will take that bet. You buy one Bitcoin, I will send $1 million worth of USD. And this is a 40-to-1 odds, as one Bitcoin is worth 26k. The term is 90 days. All we need is a mutually agreed custodian who will still be there to settle this in the event of digital dollar devaluation. In a follow-up tweet, he detailed, I am moving $2 million into USDC for the bet. I will do it with Medlock and one other person, sufficient to prove the point. Everyone else should just go buy Bitcoin, as it'll be much cheaper for you than locking one up for 90 days. So interesting news there. We'll see how that plays out. It'll be very interesting to see if we do get a $1 million Bitcoin within the next 90 days. It would be because, in my opinion, a huge amount of devaluation of the dollar, and that obviously would be pretty painful for the majority of people, us people that get to use Bitcoin as a hedge against that inflation and allow it, and know that there's this vehicle. Let's start again. And those of us that don't, for the majority of the population, this is going to be really, really painful. But for those of us that have this vehicle and are aware of this vehicle of Bitcoin that can hedge us against that inflation, it may be beneficial. But for the majority of people, $1 million Bitcoin would probably come from a huge problem within the traditional financial system. And we've seen another piece of analysis today. Let's take a look at the next one we have. Is Bitcoin going to $100,000 within the next year? Now, some people may say that this is a little bit more of a realistic expectation, we should say. So we can see here the co-founder and CEO of blockchain analytics company Messari has predicted that the price of Bitcoin would reach $100,000 within the next 12 months as more institutional investors purchase the asset. Now, this is going down the same lines. He tweeted this over on Twitter. We can see my rough prediction for the next 12 months. More bank failures in the next couple of weeks. Fed cuts, quantitative easing is back. Bitcoin climbs, sustained moderate inflation. Outside money, sound money, $100,000 Bitcoin. And institutions buy faster than Feds can shut down. So let's take a look at this. Essentially, we've seen here that because the banks have collapsed that we've discussed within the last couple of weeks, we've seen Silvergate Capital affected by the implosion of bankrupt crypto exchange FTX that went into voluntary liquidation after losing its ability to continue operations due to massive losses. We've then seen Silicon Valley Bank be shut down by the US authorities, and Signature Bank the same, after the former suffered a massive bank run that shook investors' confidence in the banking system. And yesterday, a group of major US banks had to pump $30 billion into First Republic Bank, a smaller regional bank on the verge of collapsing due to similar issues to Silicon Valley Bank. So we are seeing huge doubts within the banking industry. If I go over here, we can highlight that we are on the next stage of the articles. Let's take a look at this. I hope you like this new layout. It's a bit confusing on my end to do something new, but it is quite exciting. If you are enjoying today's stream, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button to help us grow the channel as big as possible. We are trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we need your help to do so. So please like, share, subscribe, send these streams to your friends. As I said, we do these every single weekday, talking about what's happening within the market. So we can see here that this guy from the co-founder and CEO of blockchain analytics company Messari has predicted $100,000 Bitcoin within the next year because of the fear within the US banking system. And then we've done a quick run through of what's happened in the banking system right now. But he predicts the recent and upcoming failures would lead the US Federal Reserve Board to cut interest rates, bringing back quantitative easing. As the Fed doubles its efforts, Bitcoin will keep climbing and sustained moderate inflation. So the CEO believes that the sequence of events would drive Bitcoin's price to $100,000, cementing the notion that the digital asset is sound money. He sees institutional investors buying Bitcoin faster than authorities can shut down. And he says that Bitcoin is currently treated as a peaceful exit option. He said, "This is an optimistic bet on the future, as Bitcoin is treated as a life raft and peaceful exit option, but the key is threading the needle so institutions can buy it and defend it alongside of us." Best case scenario right now. So $100,000 Bitcoin, I personally don't think that is unreasonable. We are going to see the Bitcoin halving in April 2024. We are in 23 now. I always take a while to adjust to that. So I expect the run up to the Bitcoin halving to be a steady incline, and we could see some really strong moves depending on the confidence within the US banking system. If that continues to decline, then we may continue to see Bitcoin push to the upside, and that is something we need to be aware of and continue to look at, and we are going to continue to follow that story on these live streams to make sure to continue to tune in to these. Now, quantitative easing is something I quickly wanted to talk about because this is a term that a lot of people throw around, and I don't think that many people explain this incredibly well. So with quantitative easing, this is a way that they can help the supply of the US dollar without reducing inflation rates. So usually the quantitative easing occurs when interest rates are around zero and the economy isn't really growing or shrinking, it's kind of steady. So for quantitative easing, this means they can let's take a look at this. Actually, I've already pulled something up for us here. We can increase the domestic money supply and spur economic activity. So the central bank purchases government bonds and other financial instruments such as mortgage-backed securities. So I think it says somewhere up here as well. This is creating new bank reserves, providing banks with more liquidity and lending and investment. In the United States, the Federal Reserve implements quantitative easing policies. So we're seeing this be stepped up a notch, essentially. Let's move on to the next article now and see what's happening with the Charles Hoskinson, the co-founder of Cardano, we should say. So he thinks that the banks, crypto needs to detach from the banks, and that is how crypto can continue to perform well during this fear within the banking markets. We can see here that he thinks this is only one step away, and that step is to digitalize treasuries. So if we go through this article, it mainly covers the problems that we've seen within the banking industry in the last couple of weeks. We've discussed that a lot here on the channel, so we are going to skip through those right now and take a look at what he has said here. He said, "The moment we can digitalize treasuries, it's game over for banks." And this comes after a tweet where he tweeted, "Crypto needs to de-risk itself from those unstable and volatile banks." And someone agreed, saying, "Agreed, we need a decentralized crypto bank." And Charles Hoskinson said, "The moment we can digitalize treasuries, it's game over for banks." So that is what we are looking at there. Let's move on to the next article here and see what is happening. We have the FDIC denies report that signature bank buyers must stop crypto businesses. So there was a report by Reuters last week saying that the buyers of the bank would have to stop all cryptocurrency business after the acquisition. And FDIC have responded to this report saying this is not true. They can continue to work with cryptocurrency businesses, and that is a key thing for the industry because we did see 3 major cryptocurrency friendly banks within the US US shut down in the last couple of weeks, and there was speculation that this was an attack on crypto-friendly banks. But now we are seeing that they're not saying that these banks have to stop working with cryptocurrency companies if they are required and business can continue. So that is a really important thing for us within the cryptocurrency industry. Even if it were the case and it was a coordinated attack on crypto-friendly banks, it may not be the worst thing for the cryptocurrency industry. It means that all of these cryptocurrency companies need to look at another way to bank their businesses, and this could be a huge push for decentralized finance. So that is what we are looking at there. Let's take a look at the next piece of news here and see what's happening here. More about the banking sector. This is a huge thing that we need to continue to discuss within the next couple of weeks. It's a massive opportunity, if we stay up to date with this news, to see how we can benefit from these times. Obviously, it's not a very nice time to be a part to watch over, because we are seeing the majority of people could have painful repercussions, but we want to be on the right side of this. We want to see how we can benefit this and how we don't get pushed down with the majority of people. So what we are seeing here is the US government and Warren Buffett are in contact amid banking fears. So amid fears regarding the US banks, one of the world's wealthiest individuals, Warren Buffett, is now in connection with the Biden administration. So let's take a look at this and see why this is in the news and why this is occurring and why it is important. Essentially, the wealthiest individuals residing in the US will have a personal interest in how the government plans to stop banking contagion, and their wealth is likely to be tied up within these banks, companies, stocks, and other areas severely affected by further bank failures. So, some of the brightest and most knowledgeable minds in the world of finance and business may be called together alongside Warren Buffett to help advise the Biden administration, and they could provide further aid to whatever plan the government is rolling out. And Biden and his officials will want it for them to point the finger at his government. Let's say that again. The Biden does not want the finger to be pointed at them and his officials for this crisis taking place. I am really tripping up my words today. Apologies for that. We do have the US presidential election coming up around 2024. So Biden and his officials don't want people to be saying, this is your fault that this is all taking place. They want to take the right steps in the right direction so that they continue working forwards, whether people will agree with that opinion or not. It's another debate. Let's take a look at the next article now and see what's happening here. We can talk about how the banking industry is affecting stablecoins within the cryptocurrency markets. So for this article, we do run through this pretty quickly, but let's take a look at the market caps here and see what's happening. If you want more information on this, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and check out the latest cryptocurrency news, the most reliable cryptocurrency news, completely free guides, completely free courses, and market data as well. Everything on the website is currently free, and you just need to go over to cryptosavingexpert.com, press this big blue sign up button, fill this information in, and also if you tick this button, you'll receive a newsletter tomorrow, because every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. we release a newsletter discussing the last week in crypto and what we expect from the next week in cryptocurrency. And the next week in crypto is looking pretty exciting, and we are covering that in tomorrow's newsletter. To make sure to do this today if you haven't already, so that you don't miss it. Let's take a look anyway at the market caps of these stablecoins. Obviously, we saw USDC depeg from the dollar just a week ago, and we have seen a huge dump in the market dominance of USDC. As a result of this, the market cap has tanked. People have moved their assets out of the stablecoin. We are still seeing that dip slightly over time, even though it has repegged to the dollar now. Let's take a look at the USD. We are seeing again the stablecoin has lost market dominance, and the market cap has fallen dramatically following Paxos being ordered to discontinue minting of the stablecoin. But let's take a look at USDT. Now, USDT receives a huge amount of FUD. A lot of people for many years have said that USDT is not a secure asset. Their reserves aren't in line. But USDT manages to hold out from FUD over and over again. They've been able to make their They've been able to make their reserves more transparent and show where all of their funds are, and therefore they've been able to withstand problems like this. We can see it has taken a slight fall as with the rest of the market, but we see these fluctuations regularly with USDT's market cap, so it's not a huge concern for the industry. Let's take a look at the next article here and see what is happening. Final article, I believe, on the banking system for today's stream we have here: is your bank vulnerable? A study finds 186 US banks with similar weaknesses to the failed bank SVB. So let's take a look at this article and see what is happening. We have from an economist, we've seen that he has said, we compute similar incentives for the sample of all US banks. Even if only half of uninsured depositors decide to withdraw, almost 190 banks are at a potential risk of impairment to insured depositors, with potentially $300 billion of insured deposits at risk. If uninsured deposit withdrawals cause even small fire sales, substantially more banks are at risk. So we can see here central banks could harm long-term assets like government bonds and mortgages, causing bank losses. So that is the phase that we're seeing within the industry right now. The Economist revealed that the recent rate hikes in 2022, after a decade of low borrowing costs, which forced the US traditional banking system value to plummet to $2 trillion, together with a massive share of uninsured deposits at some banks, threaten the stability of the banking sector. And that threatening of the banking sector is what is causing Bitcoin to rally so high in the last couple of days and weeks, and in the last week, essentially. Just 8 days ago, on Sunday the 12th of March, I think it was, Bitcoin was trading at under $20,000. We are now seeing Bitcoin up at $28,000 even. Let's see what it is. We're currently at $28,200 for Bitcoin. And this doesn't look like it's going to stop. The more fear that spreads within the traditional banking system, the higher Bitcoin will go, in my opinion. So that is what we are seeing right now. Let's take a look at some news now unrelated to the banking sector and see what's happening outside of this what we'd call it, problem within the banking system. We have here, first of all, before we get on to the next article, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button so that you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday talking about what's happening within the markets. Let's take a look here. We have Playboy magazine lost $5 million worth of Ethereum from NFT transactions. So they are a lifestyle and media company subsidiary and disclosed an impairment loss of nearly $5 million on Ethereum and other digital assets it held on its balance sheet for the year ending on December the 31st. So the adult focused magazine firm attributed the paper loss to the 2022 crypto winter, which disrupted the entire market, sending Bitcoin and Ether to new all-time lows since the last bear market. And they reported a $13 million in operational loss. In its annual report filed with the US SEC on March the 16th, Playboy said it accepted Ethereum as payments for its NFTs collection dubbed Rabbitars, represented on its balance sheet as digital assets. Users paid 0.1953 ETH for the digital artwork launched in 2021. The collection comprises 11,953 unique NFTs inspired by the company's iconography, heritage, and lore. According to the Form 10K filing, the virtual assets were valued at around $327,000 as of December, showing a significant drop compared to the $1.75 million previously reported in September 2022. So that's what we're seeing here. Let's move on quickly. We have the Edge of tomorrow. Microsoft are trialing a crypto wallet feature for its Edge browser. The latest version of Microsoft Edge is hidden prototype code for default crypto wallet to Newsfeed, Decentralized Application Explorer, and Coinbase the MoonPay purchases. In a Twitter thread yesterday, the pseudonymous software detective revealed that the Microsoft has embedded code for a non-custodial crypto wallet in its flagship browser, Edge. So positive things there. We can move on to the next one. I've just seen Jerome's joke within the chat. I'm not going to read that one out. Let's take a look at the next one. US regulators charged Chinese businessmen for alleged role in $850 million crypto fraud. The defendants allegedly used a huge part of investors' funds funds to enrich the lives of themselves and their families. Before we get into the next article, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button. Following this news, we are going to take a look at the Bitcoin chart, do a little bit of Bitcoin analysis and see what's happening in the markets. Got some interesting things to point out in today's stream as well, so make sure to stay tuned for that part of the stream. We have the US SEC has filed charges against Chinese businessman and his financial advisor for their alleged roles in coordinating a crypto and technology fraud scheme that stole $850 million from investors. According to a press release, the SEC filed a complaint in the US District Court for the Southern District of New York on Wednesday, accusing them of getting involved in unregistered and fraudulent offerings that siphoned millions of dollars from victim investors. In the complaint, the SEC accused them of working together to misappropriate a large chunk of investors' funds to enrich themselves and their family members and fund their luxurious lifestyles since April 2022. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen people take actions like this, and it won't be the last, but it's great to see repercussions within the cryptocurrency industry because there has been a lack of repercussions within the recent years. Let's take a look at the next article. James says your voice is mesmerizing. That is not a compliment I get very often. A lot of people hate my accent, so thank you very much. Let's take a look at the next one. We have US citizens lost over $2.57 billion in 2022 due to cryptocurrency investment frauds. So according to the latest Federal Bureau of Investigation Internet Crimes report, online fraud has stolen over $10 billion from US citizens in the past year. From the total amount, crypto investment fraud corresponds to $2.57 billion stolen. So the FBI's arm is essential to tackle the cyber threat and reassure the lost funds. They gather information, spot trends, and combat the current danger. IC3 rely on the public to report cyber attacks and occurrences. 800,944 complaints were filed with the IC3 in 2022, a 5% reduction from 2021. Therefore, the total loss has increased from $6.9 billion in 21 to over $10.3 billion in 2022. So we are seeing increases there. If you want more information on that, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and get the most reliable cryptocurrency news. I'm not going to go into the depth of that article because I am aware that this stream is running a little long and we still have a huge amount more to discuss, and we also have some Bitcoin analysis coming in today's stream as well, so make sure to stay tuned for that. We have the National Australia Bank conducts first stablecoin transaction via Ethereum. So one of the 4 largest financial institutions in Australia has said it has completed the first ever intra-bank cross-border transaction on the Ethereum blockchain. So we are seeing adoption throughout the problems within the markets right now, and within traditional finance, we are still seeing positive things within the cryptocurrency industry. We're seeing adoption over in Australia. So in January, the bank revealed plans to become the second financial institution on Australia to issue a stablecoin backed one-to-one to the country's local currency after its rival Australia and New Zealand banking group launched the ASDC in March 2022. So the proposed digital asset, AUDN, will be hosted on the Ethereum blockchain and the Algorand at launch. According to the report, the stablecoin will serve as a utility token used by customers to settle transactions and in areas of credit carbon trading. NAB has now completed its pilot transaction for the project on Ethereum, and the bank said the transaction involved deploying smart contracts for 7 major global currencies, including Australia, Singapore, New Zealand, and the United States dollar, the European euro, the Japanese yen, and the British pound. So as I said, adoption is what we want to see here in the news. This is what we positive news that we like to talk about in these live streams. We have more to come for today's stream though, so please don't forget, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe and press that bell notification button so that you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these streams every single morning, so make sure to press that bell notification so that you don't miss them. We are on a mission to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we won't stop until we get there, so please make sure to share the stream with your friends as well. We have more adoption here. Taiwan set to appoint its financial regulator as a governing body for crypto. So Taiwan has settled on announcing FSC as the first main regulatory body for crypto and exchanges operating in the region. Now, regulation essentially is something that we are going to see a lot more of within the cryptocurrency industry. Within the next couple of years, we've seen this. The regulators are pressing down within the US following the FTX collapse. We are going to see this all over the world as well. And regulation isn't necessarily a bad thing. thing because it allows the industry to grow and it allows us to see repercussions for bad actors in the space, just like Sam Bankman-Fried. Let's take a look here. The government of Taiwan is set to appoint its financial watchdog, the Financial Supervisory Commission, as the governing body for digital currencies and exchanges in the region. An official announcement confirming FSC as the main crypto regulator could be made at the end of March, according to people familiar with the matter. Taiwan reportedly lacks legislation that directly applies to crypto. Exchanges operating within the jurisdiction are only required to comply with anti-money laundering requirements. However, the advent of the regulatory body could ramp up oversight of the sector. The FSC chairman has said he wants to see where he will work with the industry participants on self-regulation measures. So that is what they're expecting to see, a tightening of regulation within Taiwan. But all in all, this is a positive thing for the industry. Let's take a look at the next article, the final one, before we get on to the exciting Bitcoin analysis for the day. We have decentralized exchanges volume in Arbitrum surpass BSC and tops $4.3 billion ahead of the Arbitrum airdrop. So there's been a huge amount of attention on Arbitrum over the last couple of days. It's been all over cryptocurrency Twitter. If you don't already, make sure to follow us on Twitter. It's CryptoSavingX, where we cover this news exactly as it happens. We can see here the decentralized exchanges on Layer 2 blockchain Arbitrum are seeing a record increase in trading following ongoing community euphoria on the upcoming airdrop of ARB, the proposed governance token for Arbitrum. So, on-chain data shows decentralized exchange trading volume in Arbitrum increased over 32% to $4.3 billion in the last 7 days. The biggest gainers include Woo Network, GMX Swap, Camelot, and 3 others, which recorded at least a 50% increase in the past 7 days compared to the previous week. So positive things there for Arbitrum, and I'm sure that will continue following the airdrop. Now let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart and see what is happening over here. This is what I assume a lot of you are tuned in to see. We have broken through that $25,250 level that was acting as a resistance for far too long, keeping us in those lower levels for Bitcoin. Let's again move these lines off the chart. We've been saying here on the channel over and over again. Now, if you want accurate analysis, make sure to tune into these more often. We've been saying if we break through that $25,250 level, there's a strong chance that we will close that CME gap up at $28,800, and it looks like we are very likely to do that now. If we take a look at the daily chart, I think is better for this. This is the level that we have been talking about for weeks. We've been saying if we break through that $25,250 level, we've never seen much price action between that point and the $28,500 level before, because we shot through it on the way up during the bull market and we dumped down through it on the way down during the bear market in June 2022. So we don't have any levels of, we don't have any major levels of resistance within that zone. And then when we did break through that $25,250 level, it did exactly as predicted. We shot up to that 28,000 what is the high that we've seen so far? $28,500 level. So let's take a look at that CME gap and see if that has shut right now. If we take a look on the daily chart, we have CME gap. So CME stands for Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And this is the world's largest derivatives exchange, but they are only operational between Monday to Friday. So when they're closed over the weekend, we see a gap in the markets on the price chart, and they act like magnets for the price of the asset. So when we're looking at Bitcoin, we can see we have a CME gap. We did have one down at $20,000. We closed it and opened another one exactly on that weekend. So we have one down at 20,335 that we should all be aware of. But we also have one up at 28,455. Now that looks like it's actually closed today. And we've had that gap open since back in June 2022. We've been discussing that here on the channel. So we have finally closed that CME gap. We have unfortunately created a very, very small one down at 27,145. I would actually probably say that is being closed this morning. Yeah, I would say that is insignificant right now. And we have another CME gap. Now we can take this one off because this one is closed as well. We have another CME gap if we go over to the daily chart, up at, let's take a look at this, $35,455. So they're the two CME gaps right now. We are actually closer. If we take a look, we are $7 away from that upper gap, but we are $8,500 away from that lower gap. We can take a look at some indicators and see what's happening here on the daily daily charts. The MACD is ticked bullish. It looks like we are gaining bullish momentum right now. The RSI overall, the average RSI is stating that we are neutral. The RSI itself is looking like we are slightly overbought, but that is common to see after a pump in the markets. I don't think the RSI will be the factor that holds us back from this move to the upside. If there is still more negative news to come about the traditional banking system, I'm expecting Bitcoin continue to rip to the upside and potentially close those higher CME gaps. It's not completely out of the question, and we were calling this from the start on this channel. We've been saying since these lower levels that we are dollar cost averaging in. And then we were saying around these levels, as soon as we rip through that $25,250 level, we are going to soar. And that is exactly what happened. So make sure not to miss out on our analysis. We do these every single day. And sometimes we are joined by that Martini guy as well. And he gives his 2 cents on all of the cryptocurrency news that is occurring within the markets. So that is all we have for today's stream. I need to jump onto a meeting. So thank you very much for joining us. And I will see you back here tomorrow with more cryptocurrency news.